Guys, so welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Val and welcome to today's video. And in today's video I'm gonna be covering Psalm chapter 12, where we see David complaining about the virtuous. The Bible talks about the virtuous, or you can say the impure words of his enemies or his adversaries, and on the other hand he praises God for how he keeps his word and how God is constant in what he says. And yeah, let's get into it. David begins by raising a cry to God that he would help him because he felt as if the faithful were disappearing among the sons of men. David actually knew what it meant to be alone because he would constantly take his battles to God, and in this case his main battle was actually struggling with the words of men, people who were actually speaking ill against him, and he knew that some of these battles he would not fight by himself, and he knew he would constantly trust in God to fight for him and to actually defend him. Because we see in verse 2 he says that they speak idly, everyone with his neighbor, and he also says that they have a flattering tongue and they have a double heart. So he was struggling with people who were actually against him, people who would come up together and couple up together and speak evil about him or just gossip him. David pleads with God that he would judge them, because we see in verse 3 he says that may the Lord cut off the flattering lips and any tongue that speaks evil things. When I was reading this chapter, I would just see how David constantly took his battles to God, and he knew that God was a constant and that God would deliver him from no matter what, as simple as just people gossiping him, as people speaking behind his back. I believe we need to get to a point where we don't fight some of these battles, especially where we are dealing with cases of people backbiting you, people talking ill about you. We need to take it to God as David did. It continues to ask the question, who has said that our tongues will prevail? Who has said that our lips are our own? And he asks the question like, who is the Lord over us? And it's like David is reminding us that we are not our own. We do have a source who is our creator, and something as simple as our tongue, he's trying to remind us that our tongue is meant to glorify God and not to just sit around and talk about people. And it's just a good reminder that we are not our own. We have a source, we have a creator that we need to fix our eyes to. We need to glorify God with everything about us, as simple as just our lips, as our tongues, our eyes. Everything that we do is meant to glorify our creator, who is our God. In verse 5 we see now God starts speaking, and he says, now I will arise. And when God arises, there's an awakening in everything. And when God arises, we see a manifestation of his glory. When God arises, we see big things happening, because he's just God. And God is headed to arise and take David to the safety that he was looking for. And this looks like because of the expectations he had of God, God had to move. And it should be in verse 10 when we learned about God doesn't work without expectations. And because of the expectations David had for God, he had no option than to just move. In the Bible we have seen instances where God decided to arise, and this was in instances where the poor or the needy were being oppressed. And it should be in Matthew verse 11 where it talks about, cast all your cares and your burdens unto me, for my yoke is easy and my burdens are light. I do believe that God comes to set us free from our oppressions, and as much as we have expectations, he really looks for those who are actually more oppressed. I don't believe it's God's desire for us to be oppressed in any situation, no matter where God has sent you, no matter if it is a mountain that God has sent you. Because in this case God was using David for his glory, but despite God trying to use David, he had so many challenges along the way, but God had to deliver him from those challenges that he would be able to achieve what God had set him apart for. And David just concludes the psalm by praising God, because he says that the word of God is like silver that is tried in a furnace 7 times. This is just an indicator of how David is so confident that God can actually keep his word. And it should be in Psalms 138 where he talks about, I have exalted my word above my name. Like God honors his word above even his name, where we know that his name is a great name. And this was David trying to show us that men will fail you, but God is a constant. God constantly keeps his word. And just to conclude, God is a keeper of his word. And yeah, that's all I had for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you tomorrow, and bye.